Donna asks, how do you shake the feeling of perpetual dread? Well, let's go back to the diagram of the vagus nerve here, because one of the things that is controlled by the vagus nerve, among the breathing, which is why it has all these branches in the lungs here, one of the things that the vagus nerve controls is your perception of how good you are. Meaning, like, how stressed out, how overwhelmed are you, are you good? So what happens there is if you are at a state where you're extremely stressed out and overwhelmed and your vagus nerve isn't able to regulate that stress response, even if you're completely fine, like I am right now, sitting in the video studio talking, there's no harm coming to me, there's no, logically, I know that there's no dread approaching, but if my muscles are tense, if I'm unable to regulate from stress, if I'm sort of in a bad position here and I feel like there's a lot of stress, then I'm going to feel like there's a lot of dread, because my body would then say, oh, you're stressed out and you're overwhelmed. Okay, well, obviously the problem is there must be dread, so we're going to feel it. The way that you notice a lot of the things in the outside world is actually colored by your internal sensations. It's colored by your internal state, how stressed out you are, how relaxed you are, what things you value, how good did you eat today? That can also color things. You notice, like, when you have a lot more energy, you just notice things you never noticed. Like, how long has that been there? Oh, a decade, and I walk by it every day. I've just never noticed it before. So that includes feelings of dread or feelings of ease. It goes the opposite way. There's some people that, like, walk into, like, the ghetto and feel completely safe, and to the point, not like I'm confident, but like misjudge things and are hilariously misinformed that this is actually a very dangerous place and you should be feeling a feeling of dread, but you aren't because you're really, you're misjudging it. That doesn't come so much from an external sense of knowledge, but an internal sense of where your nervous system state is. If it's in parasympathetic mode, which is chill and calm, or if it's in sympathetic mode, which is, freaking out and overwhelmed. So depending on which one you're in, that's going to color your perceptions, and that's going to color a lot of different things. So the feeling of perpetual dread is a thing that is actually, mainly colored by your perception. Because, again, logically you may know there's no actual dread here, but emotionally it doesn't feel like that. It's also interesting that you use the word shake the feeling of dread, because one of the best ways to process through all of that external, muscle tightness and overwhelm is quite literally shaking. There's a form of, I wouldn't say it's therapy, it's like hybrid yoga therapy is what I would call it, called trauma release exercises by Dr. David Berceli, Bercelli, that involves physically shaking. It involves tiring out your muscles so much that you actually start physically shaking and you quite literally shake it off. So if you want to, I would look into that.